Welcome back to The Explainer. You know that scratchy, dry, irritated throat feeling? It is literally one of the most annoying things your body can deal with. But before you just automatically reach for the medicine cabinet, we're going to take a look at 3 herbs that people have been turning to for centuries. Today, we're demystifying licorice root, slippery elm, and marshmallow root. And we're not just looking at their history here. We are going to break down the actual biological mechanisms and the clinical evidence behind exactly how they soothe that throat irritation. Here's our roadmap for today. We're covering the anatomy of a scratchy throat, licorice root, slippery elm, marshmallow root, a comparison of the 3 herbs, and a step-by-step preparation guide. Section 1. Anatomy of a scratchy throat. Why your throat hurts. Okay, let's introduce the biological problem first, just so we can understand exactly why these herbs work before we even profile them. Picture your throat. It's lined with mucous membranes, right? This is a soft, moist tissue that serves as your body's protective barrier. But when something irritates those membranes, whether that's a cold virus, dry indoor air, postnasal drip, or honestly, even just breathing through your mouth at night, they become inflamed and they dry out. And it's that specific combination of dryness and inflammation that creates that raw, prickly sensation you feel every time you swallow. So how do we fix this? Well, we need to understand the linchpin concept for this entire explainer, the demulcent. All 3 of the herbs we're discussing today act as demulcents. In herbalism and pharmacology for that matter, a demulcent is simply a substance that physically coats and soothes those irritated mucous membranes. Think of it like painting a temporary protective film directly over that raw, inflamed tissue we just talked about. Section 2. Licorice root and its anti-inflammatory power. Now, before you start picturing that black candy from the movie theater, know that real licorice root, Glycyrrhizic glabra, has been used medicinally for thousands of years across traditional Chinese, Ayurvedic, and ancient Greek medicine. Its primary active compound is called glycyrrhizin. Now, this is a saponin, meaning it acts as a natural surfactant. But far more importantly, it has documented anti-inflammatory properties. This specific molecule actually inhibits cyclooxygenase activity. To put that in plain English, it interferes with the exact same inflammatory pathways that over-the-counter pain relievers target. And the evidence for this is actually pretty wild. A 2019 meta-analysis in the Journal of Clinical Anesthesia proves that licorice root has some of the most solid clinical evidence out there for reducing mucosal inflammation. Researchers analyzed over 600 patients who had breathing tubes placed during surgery. The patients who received topical licorice were more than 50% less likely to develop a significant sore throat. The risk ratio was 0.44. So while it's important to note this is heavily studied in surgical settings, the biological mechanism for soothing just everyday irritation is incredibly sound. We do, however, need to have a serious talk about safety. Glycyrrhizin can cause pseudo-hyperaldosteronism in large amounts, which basically means it can raise your blood pressure, retain sodium, and deplete your potassium. The FDA actually clearly warns that excessive consumption over a 2-week period can cause heart problems. So if you're pregnant, if you have high blood pressure, heart issues, kidney disease, or if you take diuretics, you should completely avoid this or at the very least consult a doctor first. Licorice root is generally meant for short-term use in healthy adults only. Moving on to Section 3. Slippery elm, the protective gel. So slippery elm comes from the inner bark of a tree native to North America, and its real power comes from mucilage polysaccharides. These are these incredibly large carbohydrate molecules. The crucial point here is that when these molecules come into contact with water or your saliva, they absorb the liquid and form a thick, viscous gel. So when you swallow slippery elm, this mucilage literally physically coats the throat's epithelial surfaces. It creates an immediate protective, slippery barrier over that raw tissue. Now, we don't have massive, large-scale trials for slippery elm on everyday sore throats just yet, but a 2012 study in the Journal of Investigational Biochemistry directly examined laryngeal irritation, and they found that the perceptual ratings of soothing were notably higher for the folks using slippery elm. The mechanistic rationale here, that physical coating effect, is incredibly sound, and it's recognized by major herbal and health authorities worldwide. Safety-wise, slippery elm is generally excellent, but here's the catch. Because that mucilage is so good at physically coating your throat, it can also coat your digestive tract, and that has the potential to physically slow down the absorption of other medications. If you take any prescription meds, you absolutely must separate your slippery elm use by at least 2 hours. And again, just as a precaution, it is not recommended during pregnancy without talking to your doctor first. Section 4. Marshmallow root, the gentle demulcent. And yes, believe it or not, the original marshmallow candy was actually made from this pale pink flowering plant. It has over 2,000 years of medicinal history, going all the way back to ancient Egyptian and Greek physicians. It actually shares the exact same primary constituent as slippery elm, mucilage polysaccharides, but marshmallow root packs an exceptionally high concentration of these bioadhesive carbohydrates. We're talking 15 to 20% of the dried root by weight, and laboratory studies show these molecules don't just coat, they physically adhere to the epithelial cells lining your throat. There's a really fascinating 2020 study in Frontiers in Pharmacology that actually found marshmallow root extract reduced inflammation and irritation markers at the cellular level, and it dampened pro-inflammatory cytokines. Now, while this was an in vitro study, meaning it was done in cell cultures, not humans, it provides some powerful biological plausibility that marshmallow root goes way beyond just mechanical coating and might actually aid the cellular environment itself. As for safety, this is considered one of the gentler herbs out there. However, it carries the exact same medication spacing rule as slippery elm. You have to separate it by at least 2 hours so the mucilage doesn't block your other meds from absorbing. Additionally, it may have mild effects on blood sugar, so if you're diabetic, you should definitely monitor your levels closely. And pregnant women should, as always, consult a doctor first. Section 5. Comparing the 3 herbs. Which one is actually right for you? Okay, we've looked at the isolated science, but let's bring all this together and synthesize what we've learned to help you choose the right remedy for your specific situation. Licorice root boasts the strongest clinical evidence with those big meta-analyses, offering targeted anti-inflammatory action, but it also has the strictest safety warnings regarding blood pressure. Slippery elm provides a straightforward, highly effective physical coating with a great safety profile, even though the human trials are a bit limited. Marshmallow root gives you that high-concentration mucilage coating combined with some really exciting in vitro evidence for cellular healing. And honestly, because their mechanisms complement each other so perfectly, you will frequently see all 3 of these combined in commercial throat teas. That way you get the benefits of anti-inflammation, physical coating, and mucosal protection all at once. Finally, Section 6, our step-by-step preparation guide on how to make a cold water macerate. Let's put this theoretical knowledge into practice. For high mucilage herbs, especially marshmallow root, making a cold water macerate is highly recommended. Step 1, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of the dried root to 2 cups of room temperature water. Step 2, stir it really well. Step 3, cover it and let it sit for 4 to 8 hours, or you can just leave it overnight in the fridge. Step 4, strain it through a fine mesh. And step 5, sip that thick liquid slowly throughout the day. Now, why cold water? Well, boiling water can actually degrade those delicate mucilage polysaccharides we just spent so much time talking about. Cold extraction preserves the absolute maximum coating power. So the next time you feel that annoying tickle in your throat, ask yourself, which mechanism do I actually need right now? Do you need a gentle physical coating from slippery elm, targeted anti-inflammation from licorice root, or maybe the high mucilage bioadhesion of marshmallow root? Thinking critically about the actual biological tools at your disposal makes you a much more informed learner. Remember, these address symptomatic irritation, not the underlying cause. If you have a severe sore throat, a fever, or symptoms lasting beyond a week, please go see a healthcare provider. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.